What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This will be the first ride of the CB750, a video a lot of you guys have been waiting for. It's a little gloomy out today, but the weather is nice nevertheless. So we're going to take this thing out for a spin. We're going to talk a little bit about the Murrays Carb kit, my first kind of general impressions. I do think there's going to be some issues to work through relatively soon on it, but for the time being, if you guys didn't know, this is a CB750 1981 dual overhead cam model, basically stock. Nothing has been done to it other than the pipes. I don't believe these are stock. They look like there may be something that was available kind of more towards when the bike came out that were an aftermarket option, because they are decently loud and they look like they're pretty free-flowing. So that would be the only modification on this bike other than the frame and the cafe stuff. So I did take the 4 carbs off. I put these Murrays 2 to 4 carburetors on, or 2 to 4 system on, and it was a really easy install, to be honest with you. Not a lot of issues at all getting this installed. Realistically, I just kind of put it on there and it fired right up. So that being said, there's going to be a little bit of tuning involved, I think, as far as I've got some issues with, I know these are a little bit old and crusty, so I might have some air leaks, which was actually pointed out by Murray himself, or herself, I don't know. So far this company's been great to work with, so I definitely would recommend, if you guys do have a dual overhead cam model, to give them a look. I've actually seen a lot of R&D go into these manifolds as well. When I first started looking into these, they were kind of like more of a homemade looking DIY kit, and he just recently released these, which look a ton more professional, so I'm happy I waited to get the nicer version. But that being said, we're going to turn these chokes on and give this thing a ride and talk about it a little bit. So as you can see, fires right up. So I'm just going to let it warm up for just a minute here, and I'm going to pick the camera back up when I'm on the road. Alrighty, we are warmed up and on the road. I am losing light here, so I hope the video comes out pretty good. But, like I said, first ride on the carb kit. Please don't hit me, thank you so much. Motorcycle life, am I right? So the only thing I have done since I did the kit was I actually did throw a better set of spark plugs in it. He did recommend with the kit that you throw some NGK Iridium spark plugs, which I did do, and it did make a difference, at least it seems. So there's that. Now I did do the throttle cable routing as per the instructions, which is kind of through this left fork tube underneath the gas tank. But I do have kind of a lot of slop in the throttle, and I'm not sure if that's due to like the throttle cable being a little bit too long, or if it's due to my throttle housing. I did order the quick turn throttle kit, which may or may not change it, so I might have to just mess with that a little bit, because I mean, look at that, that's a lot of slop. If I had to guess, I would imagine it's something to do with my own modifications rather than the kit, but we'll see if I can't get that squared away, because it is a little bit difficult to kind of get this thing running smooth when you have that much slop. So I would love to take some of that out, and I already have the actual cable itself, the housing right here, the only adjustment that I could find. Basically I have maxed out, so that's as tight as I could get it on first examination, so we'll see. That's definitely something to mess with right off the bat. The other thing that I think is probably going to have to be done is a clutch. This bike has 36,500 miles on it, so I think this is probably the original clutch. I want to say it was slipping before I even did this kit, and the kit is supposed to provide a good amount more torque to which will eat up the clutches. At least that's what was stated in the install kit. So right there you can see my RPMs are hanging up already. Hand off the throttle. If I blip it, it drops back down. So something with the cable routing must be getting hung up, so I'll have to check that out. Maybe that connection, because this goes from one cable into a splitter and pulls both carbs at the same time, so something in there might be hitting or getting caught up for it to get hung up like that. So that's something to take a look at, but again, that's probably my error. I mean, right off the bat, it definitely pulls decently. Right there, I'm hanging up on RPMs again, like I got cruise control. Yeah, so that is definitely something I'm gonna have to look at, like before I ride this next time, is that routing. But otherwise, the kit seems to be running smooth. I haven't really got on it. When I get on a street up here, I'll take a side street and get on it a little bit and see what happens. But so far the kit does run smooth. I do know for a fact that I do have to change out some of these hose clamps on my intake manifold here, because they're really old. They're the original ones that come on this bike, so I think I might be getting some air leaks on there, which can contribute to a little bit of rough runnability problems. Which I would also, by the way, recommend to anybody who does get this kit, or any other kit for that matter. Both the rubber boots themselves as well as the clamps that go on them should probably either get replaced or looked at, because they tend to crack and cause a lot of air leaks. So decel seems pretty good, at least at this speed. Clutch seems to be grabbing pretty well. I mean, that was not a lot of throttle, and it seems to pull pretty good. So far I'm really impressed. To have this thing down for over a year and go through 2 or 3 times of rebuilding the stock carburetors just to have them leak 6 months later or 2 months later, to be able to buy a kit that's already tuned, it's already synced, slap it on here in 30-40 minutes, and then have it run as good as it is right now without tuning anything, I mean, that's totally worth it. And I don't know about where you guys live, but for me, for where I live and the shops that I could find that would even touch this thing, to get the carburetors on this bike rebuilt and resealed and tuned and synced and everything like that, it was pushing like 600 something bucks. And the kit itself from Murray, tuned to your application, I want to say it was like, man, I wish I would remember the exact price, but it was definitely either just like $20 more or like $30 to $40 less. Like, it was floating right around that same area as it would have cost to get the kit, to get the original carbs rebuilt anyways. So I'm not unhappy about that at all. I would have spent the money regardless, but I already know the result I would have gotten because I've had these carbs built already 3 separate times, and it does run good when the stock carbs are rebuilt on them, but it does not last as long as I would like it to. Yeah, so I'm still getting that throttle sticking, but I don't think that's going to go away until I figure out what's causing it. So I'm going to get on it here. I'm going to get all the way down to first gear and see what happens. Oh yeah, this clutch is slipping big time. Man, I could literally, I mean, you could probably see it on camera if you were watching the RPM gauge. This is just cooking the clutch right now. And it's nothing to do with the adjustment. I think the clutch is just old, and it does provide some more torque. But man, this kit didn't like cough or anything. It runs pretty smooth. Now again, I won't be able to give, I guess, like a true impressions on this kit until I get the air leaks fixed and I get the clutch fixed. But I mean, my first impressions are this thing's awesome, totally worth the money. It runs smooth, and even with the slop in the throttle, when it's not sticking, it feels great. It honestly does. So I know he makes a lot of these kits for other bikes too, so I'm sure you'll have similar luck as me. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. I know I'm talking kind of a lot about the kit, but I mean, I just couldn't find anything on CB750s with a new carburetor kit on them. So I'm trying to give as much information to you guys as I can, because I know these dual overhead cam models are a little bit finicky. They're a little bit special, and I couldn't find anything on them, so I'm trying to kind of fill that gap for you guys. But no, this is not like a sponsored video. I'm not being paid or anything by Murray, but I don't really care. I mean, it seems like a good product. He's got great customer service so far, so I don't have any problem kind of plugging this into the video here because it's benefiting me anyways to have the kit. I mean, it coughed just a little bit there on hesitation, but again, there's so many other things happening right now. There goes that RPM sticking again. There it is. I don't think I'm going to be able to really give a good accurate feel for these until I get that throttle cable fixed and until I get a clutch, and I get the air leaks on here fixed, because I think those three things in combination are probably a lot of the, I don't know, I don't want to say issues, but for lack of a better word, the issues that I'm feeling on this bike so far, I think are due to mostly those things. The other thing I just wanted to say real quick before I back the video out is, for any of you guys that do have bikes like this is a 1981, a little bit older, I would say the number one thing for you guys to know is that you definitely are going to need a lot of patience with this kind of stuff. This is not a bike where you're just going to slap it together and have it run perfectly by any stretch of the imagination. Come on. There it goes. So if you don't have patience, then I definitely would, you know, maybe get something a little bit easier to work on with a lot more information out there, like either a single overhead cam model or like a Shadow 600, where there's just gobs and gobs of information about them. Anything older like this, and that goes for other stuff too, Harleys, panheads, shovel heads, stuff like that. There's just not a lot of information out there on them, so if you don't have the patience for that kind of stuff, guys, then, you know, look at something a little bit different as a project, because it can get quite frustrating quite quickly, especially when you spend a ton of money on something. Like, I'm not, you know, an expert by any means, but if I wasn't, if I didn't have the knowledge that I have right now, and I spent $600 on a carburetor kit, and I didn't know any of the things I already know that are going wrong, I might be kind of pissed. You know, I'm like, oh, why the heck is my throttle sticking? Why the heck am I having some coughing and struggling problems? This is a brand new kit tuned up by somebody, and they're supposed to know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. But that's definitely not the case. There's 3 or 4 things that need to be addressed that are outside of the fuel system. So it can definitely become frustrating for somebody if this is not something that you're really acquainted with that well. So I'm about out of light now, to be honest with you guys, and I'm kind of just driving around a random neighborhood. So with that being said, I am excited to get these issues fixed and give a true representation on how this thing starts to feel after I give it the proper tools it needs to succeed. So with that being said, guys, if you got a dual overhead cam CB750, drop a like, subscribe, maybe show it to somebody else. I'm trying to grow this channel and get it monetized eventually. You guys seem to be digging what I've been putting out so far, so I will see you guys real soon in the next one. I got an exhaust video on the Victory Highball coming in here in the next week or next couple days, so I'm going to take advantage of this cruise control and do a double sign-off. So I'll see you guys in the next one.